Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another algorithm webinar. This afternoon's presentation is designed specifically around the new releases of Exact's flagship systems, Macola 10, which the new release is Macola 10.4, and Macola ES version 9.6.700. We're very excited to be joined today by Dave Dozer, a product manager from Exact Macola, who's had a long career at Exact, even though he's a very young man. He started, I think, when he was about 10. But he's gone through several different roles, as many of you know, at Exact as consultant, developer, product manager, and we're very happy to have him today to give us an overview of the latest features, technical improvements that are included in these latest releases. And obviously, we appreciate Dave's time and the information that he's going to be sharing with us. Dave has a technical background, so if you want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the technical aspects, I'm sure Dave would be happy to do that as well during the Q&A period. That said, I'm going to go ahead and get things turned over to Dave. Again, we do have the chat and Q&A windows in WebEx so that during our presentation, while the phones are muted, if you'd like to submit a question, we will make sure that we address it when we come to the Q&A period. Or if you prefer, you can just hold it until the end. But that is enough of me. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Dave. Dave, the ship is yours. Please take command.
Thanks, Jeff, and I appreciate the introduction there. I don't know if I look young or feel old. I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm doing the best. So, as Jeff said, as we go through it, the presentation today is going to be somewhat high level and trying to hit the big points of 10.4, so we won't be diving too deep into details, but certainly if you have any questions around technical pieces or anything like that, I'll do my best to answer those, and if at the end of it we want to get into a little deeper dive on some specific areas, we'll be more than happy to do that. So I kind of want to set the stage a little bit. I'm not sure of the mix of folks that we have on the phone, if everyone's on 10 or ES or maybe some progression customers. And take a quick look back before we get into the 10.4 features that just recently came out, and kind of look a little bit at the history of where we've evolved with Macola 10 and how we've gotten to 10.4, which I'm proud to say is probably the most new features, most new functionality we've put out in a single release in quite some time. All the way back to the 10.0 to the 10.3 release, as a lot of you are aware, it was kind of a merging of ES and Synergy and Event Manager and Navigator and Interconnect and a lot of products, and we bundled those together in a single offering with a few integration points that were initially rolled out. And at that point, we decided we needed to move towards a new technology platform and began moving things to web services. A lot of those initial web services that were introduced were maintenance type objects. So things just like setting up a product category or location, simple transactions that you weren't necessarily doing on a daily basis. And with 10.2, we started branching out a little bit more, and we started introducing things like an order entry web service and accounts payable, and to get into those more transactional types of pieces. And then we started to try to, start branching out a little bit more from just what was considered core ERP type of functionality. And then we introduced the ability to tie a web service to a workflow transaction. So get a little tighter integration between what's considered, a transaction and a action. And we also introduced the first iterations of our mobile app for Macola. Had some of the functionality of the CRM app along with some Macola-specific features. that were added in, and then some other things, housekeeping like keeping up with Windows releases, support for Spanish, those sort of things. But generally, we were moving along at a pretty steady pace, introducing some third-party integrations, things along those lines. But we were we plan and we've been moving along with it. But like I said, I think just recently I've been very pleased with the pace that we've been getting new features introduced and picking up the speed. And also I would like to take a moment to point out if anyone on the phone was at the last Evolve or the one from the year before, we do have a product roadmap session, and we solicit feedback from the folks there at the session. And we've been trying to make a very concerted effort to get as much feedback as possible, whether it's coming through connections with support. We have a customer advisory board. We have a partner advisory board. The feedback session, like I pointed out, and then obviously as solution feedback requests come in, we can do everything that everybody wants, but we're trying to take a real hard look at all of those and make sure that our strategic are in alignment with what you guys as the customers are in need of, and that we're continuing to move in the right direction. Enough with all the fun interview stuff, and you'll notice I think I might have stolen this slide from a PowerPoint that Dan had done at some point, and didn't get the find and replace with my name tagged on everything. So for the sake of it, we'll pretend that I'm Dan for a few minutes. So into the nuts and bolts of 10.4. If you're at Evolve or not, this has been kind of circulating around a little bit. This is the high-level items that we've kind of touted with 10.4. The leader of those being Workspaces 2.0. If you've done 10, the workspace technology has been a very big for us. We've been very excited about it. Customers have been very excited about it. It's really sort of a brand new ERP experience for folks. But we've kind of gotten to a point and we said, this is reaching its diminishing returns, but we really need to take this to the next level. And that's what we've done with Workspaces 2.0. We've done some small enhancements, like the ability to open a hyperlink in a modal or lightbox window, which on surface sounds very minimal, but when we're talking about not taking a user outside of their workspace and keeping them in that experience without opening up 500 different windows, very useful when it comes to designing and implementing the workspaces. The other thing we've done is we've added what we're referring to as Macola widgets or web parts. So on the home page now, you're going to add elements that previously would have been a part of a larger workspace. So, for instance, a CEO workspace might have a sales year-over-year bar chart on it. So in the past, if you wanted to make changes to those out-of-the-box workspaces, you needed to know a little bit of SSRS to go in and move things around or add something or remove it, and really get it totally configured for the users. Now, one of the features with 2.0 is those web parts, and we'll look at a lot of this here in just a moment, but you have the ability to add that part and drag and drop it on your home page and basically build your own workspace. We've also added the menu system, the configurable menus to other areas of Macola as well. So, for instance, on the item master maintenance or on the quote entry, for instance, we have configurable menus available now, so you can customize and configure and add your own menu picks to transactional screens too, to again create more flexibility, more ease of use, and being able to configure the system to really meet your needs and process flows. And then we've also, two additional points. We've added some out-of-the-box workspaces that let you aggregate divisional information into one workspace. Like, for instance, if you want to see all your accounts receivable or all your accounts payable across multiple divisions or different back office EF databases, you can now roll all that up into a workspace just right out of the box. And we've also added a new menu type called Transaction. Now, we have a ton of these available just yet, but the first we've introduced is the ability to take an order off of credit hold. So previously on the menu, you would need to open up the credit hold release screen, whereas now we can do a transaction right from the screen. So we'll be going to look at a lot of those here in just a moment. We've added additional web services that are available. You can now generate a shop floor order using a REST service or forecast order using a REST service. IFRS has been an ongoing thing for us. I won't harp on it too much because it's probably not terribly impactful for a lot of the folks on the phone here today. But it's basically the international gap, and at some point might be mandated for us here in the U.S. But if you are doing any sort of international business or have subsidiaries overseas, you're probably having to account by these standards. So we've been making incremental changes to ultimately be able to support FRS type reporting. Now, that you made in this release could potentially be used for things outside of IFRS. It's actually a different type of GL transaction. So now when you're doing entries, you have the ability to actually create a fiscal type transaction, which creatively could be used for other purposes outside of IFRS. I know creative and accounting normally ship together in a sentence, but in this case, you could use it for maybe booking on assets. There's a lot of different ways it could potentially be utilized outside of just IFRS. The one is conditional statements and workflows. This is actually a functionality that's been around for a little while and had previously been sold as an add-on. It's Workflow Validator and Workflow Dispatcher. And what those allow you to do is set up rules outside of the normal workflow configuration in the request. So, you might have a request related to a group of people or maybe the account manager or something like that. What this lets you do is set up your own custom rules to check by any field you would want to check. And again, based on your rules, then send it to a different person or different people based on those rules. And then validator piece does is let you set up your own custom validations between fields. So, for instance, if you added 2 free fields to a request, that 4 would have no way of being tied together. You can use this system to link those together and do some sort of validation on those, and not let somebody save a request or move it on to the next step until the information passed the validation that you had set up. Another one that we're excited about including is the financial consolidation. This was a module that had been available in the past on the Synergy Enterprise side, and we're now including it as part of Macola 10. And it allows you to take financial data from multiple back office divisions and into one consolidated financial statement, along with doing the mappings from the subsidiary GL accounts to the parent GL account. It lets you do interdivisional GL transactions, do your elimination entries right from it, and you can even do things like importing files from other non-Macola back offices. So maybe if you've got a small division running QuickBooks or something like that, as long as it can be exported to a flat file, you can import into the consolidation, see everything rolled up in bottom left there, integration with business intelligence. We have formed a partnership with Qlik, and we are branding the product that we're rolling out as Exact Insights powered by Qlik. But essentially, it's the QlikView product with documents that we're releasing on top of that to pull in Macola sales information in this first iteration, and you get metadata and the document and everything. We'll take a quick look a little later on at one of those screens. One thing I kind of want to add to that as well, though, is underneath the business intelligence integration is another initiative that's been going on, and we've begun creating a whole data warehouse for Macola, which is especially impactful when you get into multi-division environments or challenges with slow reporting. still have a lot of work to do along those lines, but in the 10.4 release, we've released data warehouse, and it's going to be focused on sales data in this release, and every upcoming release will add a new functional area to that. And eventually we'll have a whole structure in place to let you use other business intelligence tools. We're going to continue to build the Qlik integration on top of that, and it's going to create a lot of new possibilities for how you manage data and are able to get data back out of Macola. We also partnered, again, actually we used to partner with them a long time ago with Forecast Pro, and have an integration to the Forecast Pro track application for doing advanced forecasting. So you'll be able to export data right out of Macola, suck it into Forecast Pro, do all the fancy forecasting stuff in there, and import it back into Macola to be able to consume it in your MRP and get an accurate forecast there. Now, I won't get into pricing or anything like this, but I just want to make clear and point out that Qlik and Forecast Pro are not part of the 10 bundle. The integrations to them are, but the products themselves are sold as a add-on solution. The final dot there, fifth total enhancements. So on top of all of these, that you want to include some of the things that were needed to support the different big bullets here. But all in all, we've added 51 new features to 10.4 that were not previously available. So we're very excited about that, very proud about that. And if you actually go to, in the portal, document 20.176.964, that's the full release note document. It's going to have all those 51 laid out. Now the count on the release notes there might not tie exactly to my 51 here, depending on exactly how they're documented. But we're very, very excited about that. I've been very long-winded here, so let's actually jump in and take a look at some new enhancements and functionality that are in here. First thing I want to take a look at here is Workspaces 2.0 and highlight some of the things that I was talking about just a little bit ago. Top of, the 42 out-of-the-box role-based workspaces we have, like I was talking about, we've now got the ability to create custom workspaces in a lot easier and scalable fashion than we had in the past. Transaction and the addition of the menus on the transactional screens. Now, I'm going to cheat just a little bit here, and I've got a video that I'm going to play. You can do it right. Talk through this video because I want to make sure I didn't have any technical problems here. So we're actually going to perform a transaction. So we're going to our sales rep workspace here, and we'll see this order is on credit hold. So, firstly I'd have to open the credit hold release screen and drill down in and actually open the order. So even from the workspace, there was still some additional work to be done. But now I can just click on my configure role menu, and I'm going to be able to say release order. Did I complete it? Yes. Order 5 is released. Say OK. That's really all there is to it. So now I can refresh, and we're going to see that order number 95 is now back into a booked status. So, and now that's still checking all the normal password protection and things like that would be necessary on doing a credit hold release. So we're really excited about that one, and that's setting the foundation for doing some other types of transactions like that. So, as we're moving forward, we're going to be able to do a lot of cool things with doing transactions straight from the workspaces there. There's a couple little things to point out on that, like you can customize what you want the message to say. So you can say, hey, allowed to release this, or congratulations. That's all configurable. So it's very, very user-friendly there. Next one I want to take a look at is how easy it is to now customize your home page and actually build your own workspace. So click on off. So here I've got some different widgets on screen. I've got my workflow at the top, my favorites, looking at the sales scorecard here as well. My sales funnel, my accounts by highest expected revenue. So I've got a lot of different stuff on here. So I can come down, go to reports, and now Macola web part that I can add. So I'm going to add this new web part. The first thing I need to do is specify what division it's going to pull data from. So I could add this multiple times if I wanted to see it for multiple divisions. And then I'm going to go in and say, okay, what module do I want? I'm going to pull one of the sales web parts. And pick one of the available ones here. So we'll do year-over-year revenue. And give this guy a title. Save that. So now we're going to see, as I go to the bottom of the screen here, is it's added my sales year-over-year revenue comparison. Now what's cool in this is, so I also still have my configurable menus. I can still go in and configure the menus just like I would have on any of the older workspaces, but I have the ability to grab this and move it around. So I can move it, I can reset it, we'll kind of go towards the top, and you'll see how everything kind of auto-arranges. This is letting me do then, and we'll kind of some other stuff around here too, but the user has the ability to add the parts and pieces that are important to me. So, everything I do doesn't fall cleanly into sales or inventory management or something like that, so I need all these different parts and pieces I can see through and actually build out my own workspace there. And the beauty of this too is that makes it much more easier to combine with the other functionality on the home pages there. Like for instance, on the left, I've got files, and I view into my workflow, my opportunities, whatever it might be, and I can really configure that to work for me. So consolidation, we'll talk through in just a little bit more detail here. It's not super exciting, so I'd bore you with a video on it. But as we talked about, we've got that ability to aggregate the financial data across the multiple divisions. One really cool thing it allows you to do too is also set up your ownership percentages and even apply the stock valuations and things like that to the to your parent entity and into a simple or a very complex holding structure as well. So it is similar to some other third-party products that are out there. Kind of a lighter version of those. So depending on what your needs are, it could be very, very beneficial. And then once all those mappings are done and set up, it makes doing the month-end reconciliation and roll up a lot quicker and easier. And again, just being able to do the eliminations and your interdivisional GL entries and elimination entries that much easier in one consolidated area. Now, this is a smaller enhancement that it's not a bullet point slide, but this is that we're pretty excited about as well. If you're using standard costing, it's pretty impactful, and it's actually one of the building blocks, so to speak, on ultimately us getting to a true multi-site MRP ability in Macola. And it's ability now to track your standard cost by a location. So previously you could only track your or maintain your standard cost at an item level, but now we've added that location level in there, so your standards can be maintained and rolled by location. And we've got a quick little demo here on this one and just how easy it is with the new screen setup. So I'm on an inventory manager workspace here. So and I'm going to maintain my cost master. Sets one up, what you're used to seeing with the cost master screen. However, as I put my item in here, you'll notice I've now have a location field available for me. So I'll leave this blank and kind of treat it as it used to be treated, or I can up and save a cost master per location. And so I've got it on multiple locations here. and you can rely that location. Now, we do have a flag in the system settings as well to not turn that on if you don't want to. So if you're using standard cost today, everything's great. I don't want to change. You're forced into changing and doing it by location. But again, that's one we're very excited about as we start to break down all those pieces that are going to be needed to support full MRP. Okay, so here's one of the big ones that we're pretty excited about, and I've got a little demo to go with it. Again, not a high-level slide one. It's not something we necessarily touted on the main stage at Evolve, but something we put a lot of effort into. And if you're running Macola today, it's maybe a pain point. It's hard to say necessarily, but it's something we got a lot of feedback with. And that's the using ASM port to synchronize the accounts from office into the back office divisions. So eliminated that for customers in this release, and we've got a little demo to kind of try to demonstrate how that really benefits you. Obviously, not having to run a background job to do that, but also gives us is essentially real-time in our customers. So create a bring test customer here, and the other thing you'll notice as we run through some of the fields here, got to put an address in. There we go. We'll set our payment condition here, but we're also going to have new fields on this screen that previously were not available. So, for instance, salesperson was there, but there was actually a couple ones there. And if we get down, we can see tax code, tax schedule, all of now. The payment method is now available right when you enter the new customer. So I can save this in a position where I'm not waiting for any sort of synchronization, anything like this. I can go straight into my orders here and create a new quote or a new order if I want to. And I can just put that quote in. The customer is immediately available to say, so no waiting for any synchronization. I know this is like pre-recorded, so trust me that there's no smoke and mirrors going on with this one. But what it's doing, adding that to both databases in real time. Now I've got the ability to add that to a new division too. So that's all been moved out to the main screen. So I control what back office divisions that exist in, and in a more easier and user-friendly way, be able to push that to those multiple back offices. What that also lets us do now as well is you can maintain different master data, like payment terms, for instance, between those back office entities, where in the past you only had the master record that would push down, and then you were really kind of stuck with not being able to change that across divisions without creating a brand new separate account. So we're very excited about this one, and hoping that it's going to be a pretty big deal and making everyone's life a little easier. Automated workflows, I'll expand on that just a little bit. We don't have a recorded example of that, but one really easy example would be, let's say you had some sort of request where you want to check the stock on an item, and you're going to send that to a group of inventory specialists. With a request like that, it would maybe go to a group, and the appropriate person, let's say based on the inventory location, would have to assume that request and go out and take it, go do the job, and bring it back and place the request. What you'll do with this now is set up rules and say maybe, for instance, if the location is Ohio, they want it to go to only the resources whose physical location on their HRM card is Ohio, and then the inventory specialist role. And then the workflow would then conditionally be routed based on the inventory location, and then go to only the people in that role. that have that ability to be able to do that. So that's one that's sort of a tool set, but it offers a lot of power to be able to do with the already powerful workflows. Excuse me. Let's take a quick look now at business intelligence and one of the documents for sales that we have in the case of Qlik view here. We want to kind of set the stage if you're not familiar with business intelligence and what that really means. There's a lot of confusion, I think, in today's world between where the line between reporting and business intelligence really lies. And reporting is, traditionally very transactional. It's always after the fact. It's not really showing you how data relates to itself or to other pieces of data. Whereas the idea behind business intelligence and Qlik specifically is you're drilling down into data, maybe sales for a certain period, sales in a certain region. You're going to be able to actually gain insights into that data and say, okay, you're selling this product in this region in this time frame, and here's the salespeople that are best at selling that. So you're seeing correlations between data as you drill down into your KPIs deeper and deeper. So just quickly, also want to point out, how we landed on Qlik as being our partner, as there's multiple or a lot, I should say, business intelligence tools out there. Obviously, Tableau and Microsoft are big as well, but in that Gartner Magic Quadrant, Qlik is there, and we wanted to partner with someone that had established themselves in that intelligence market and knew what they were doing. And also Qlik, after evaluating, we found that it was a good mix of, being scalable for different sizes of customers, but also feature rich enough to kind of hit the sweet spot of, if you were a larger enterprise and needed more security, things like that, you can get very granular and specific with Qlik. So it just really seemed to be the right fit for us. So without further ado, let's take a look at her here. Since I'm going to open up my sales analysis here right from our workspace. So you'll see on the first screen here, we've got some different KPIs laid out, and then we have the ability to switch to some different views. So I can pop over to the analysis view here, and I can see those sales laid out in a chart, and go over to my history. Some of the changes that have been made, like this, for instance, is showing my audit log, and I can drill and see some more of that. So I pop back over to my summary here, and you'll see how easy it is to kind of jump back and forth. And then, I can to filtering data as well. So, for instance, if I want to see only a certain ship-to state, and say, okay, show me everything in Ohio, and you'll notice as we pick the different states here, I'm just picking one at a time. I could, hold down control and pick ones. All my KPIs adjust to that selection. So you can start building selections on top of selections, and all of the data in the chart up based on that. So now when we go back over to our analysis, we're only seeing the information for ship-to state that we selected. So you can keep building those on top of each other. So I could add, okay, show me a certain customer in that ship-to state, show me a certain salesperson or location, and you can building on those. Now, the thing too is then you can drill down and see the data that's making that up. You can switch it to a line chart. You can really switch how you're interacting and visualizing the information as well. Question cut in there. I'll keep driving here. So you'll see it's easy to drill down. I can just use my mouse to make selections as well on top of the filters. And again, all of that keeps building up on itself there's a lot of different options for how you're able to interact with the data and information. And this is something we're very excited about, and really kind of the Pittsburgh, so to speak, on it. I want to take a quick look at the forecasting integration as well. I think we've tried to lay that out so where it's pretty easy to use. Again, the heavy lifting on this is done on the Forecast Pro side, but we're going to get that integration piece in place to make that easier to be able to forecast and plan. So the first thing I want to do is actually export my data out of Macola. So I'll go out and pick what reporting calendar I want to use, and you'll see I've got some different points there. So I can say, what date range do I want the item history for. I can do it for a certain location, certain accounts. I can however I want. So then I'm going to download that file, and you'll see that just pops out to a CSV there. So now I'll go in and open Forecast Pro. A file that I just downloaded. Okay. Normal Forecast Pro functionality takes over, so you can go through information a lot of different ways, down by category, get down to the customer or item level, help you and assist you through the forecasting process. When that's all done, then can then actually export that back out. What it's going to do is it's going to allow me to create an XML file that will save off here, and then take that and import that back into when we're done here. So I go back into my Forecast Pro import export, and at the bottom there I'm just going to say, okay, which calendar should this tie to? And then if location, I would choose it, and just take me out to my file. And I'm going to be able to pull that in. So what that then is going to do is create those forecast orders. So on my MRP, I've got all that forecasting work that I've done in Forecast Pro available to drive demand back in Macola. And the final thing I just kind of want to recap is our third-party integrations. We just got done talking about 2 of them. So these are our most recent integrations or partnerships. So we talked about Qlik and we talked about Forecast Pro, and just as a reminder in case it hadn't been communicated, in the previous release we partnered up with Avalara for sales tax calculations. So there's a connection with Macola 10 to Avalara. We've renewed our partnership with F9 as well for Excel-based financial reporting needs. Spend too much time on this last part because I want to. We've got plenty of time for questions at the end here, but just kind of wanted to share with everyone the high-level roadmap and kind of where we're looking as we move forward with the product. So these are our north items, or essentially our top-level product strategy items. So everything we do from a development standpoint, we evaluate it and say, okay, does it fall into one of these buckets? And if not, why are we doing it? And challenge ourselves to say, is this value add or not? Now, these are very high-level buckets, so generally you can make a case for almost anything falling into these. But this is, kind of things we want people to say about Macola as we move forward. We're striving for, full web enablement. Which tie into that is mobility and responsive UI, so not necessarily native apps, but building the product in a way that works well on a tablet or a phone. We're going to keep plugging down the path of workspaces and building out on those and making them easier to use and new features and new functions. The international reporting. And more enhancements. We have things we do that are bread and butter, and we want to keep building and making those better as well. So, whether it's how a shop order flows through or cash flow or something like that, we want to always keep a focus on that. Along with the fully web-enabled We're moving towards an open architecture, so we want it to be easy to integrate with us. We want it to be easy to customizations, things like that. UX, UI enhancements, that's been a big thing on our radar. We want to take things that we've streamlined, made easier, and continue to make those even easier. We had a UX expert on contract with us to assist with mapping out what the next iterations of Macola are going to look like, how they're going to feel, how they're going to work, and strive to make it not just easier as been in the past, but make it a truly easy to use application. And then things like BI and data warehousing, we're still going down that line. As always, we're evaluating and looking at customer requests as they come. And I won't necessarily belabor this slide, but these pieces that are kind of on the immediate midterm roadmap. Immediate are all the things that were just released in 10.4. And as you can see on the bottom there, there's ongoing projects that span multiple releases, like the web services, multi-site MRP, customer request, all that are always ongoing things. Look at the mid-range goals here in the next release or so. We're going to be focused on integration with a parametric configurator for configure price quote functionality, some sales and ops planning tools, and management are going to be big on the radar. And then we've got to focus on a lot of other web services that we want to continue to cover. So again, this is always kind of a living, breathing thing that changes as needs change and evolve. I just wanted to take this opportunity to share this with you guys and give a glimpse to it. That's the kind of 15,000 view of 10.4. There's obviously some smaller things that have been presented and on the ES side as well. Some enhancements that have gone in to that as well. So I think at this point, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Jeff, or have any closing remarks, but that was my portion of the spiel. And then if we want to take some questions, that'd be great.
I'm going to say, Dave, we can't close without the questions. I think it's interesting, and you tell me from your side of things. It seems as though Exact is adding more value each time that you come out with another release of Macola 10, either by adding new functionality, or I wasn't even aware some of the additional things that used to be an additional charge, such as you mentioned the workflow validator, that are now being included in the Macola 10 license.
Spot on, Jeff. Obviously we want to try to add as many new features and functionality as possible. But along those lines too, we're looking always at creative ways to add value as well. So if it is maybe taking something that previously we charged for, or maybe something that honestly we maybe didn't do a great job here at the company of promoting and rolling that into the Macola 10 bundle to make it just that much more to folks. But I think I alluded to it towards the beginning as well. I've been very pleased with what we've been able to deliver in this release. And not say I wasn't pleased with these releases, but I think we're gaining velocity constantly. Derek Oakes and the development team, they've been adding resources. They even have some open head count now, so that team is growing. And as that grows, we're going out and getting bright talent, injecting fresh blood into the team. And with each release, we're just seeing that velocity and the ability to crank stuff out. So it's been very exciting. And again, we're always looking for ways to add as much value to the offering as possible.
Yeah, excellent. Now, I'm going to go ahead and unmute our phones. Realize we have a lot of people on the line, so if we start stepping on each other when we're each trying to talk, we just have to be as polite as we can be. But I want to make sure that we go ahead and unmute the phone so that people can ask questions. While I'm doing that, I wanted to ask one additional thing, because personally, I have several accounts that have divisions in either Mexico or South America, and the Spanish language support. It seems to be something that more and more people have been asking about, and wondering, is there or are there any plans for supporting additional languages? We, of course, have had people requesting either Japanese or Chinese or other Asian languages for a number of years, and I was just wondering, Dave, if that's something that's on the roadmap as well.
It's somewhat loosely on the roadmap, and I say loosely for this reason because, with the addition of the Spanish language support, and obviously internally our focus was, be able to sell down into South America and support the existing customers that have, Mexico operations. But what that's allowed us to do, though, is so now everything basically has a term ID for translation associated with it. So as we see an opportunity to expand into other languages, we take that into account and kind of meter the cost associated with that, with obviously the back end payout of that. However, the plus side is the framework to support another language is there. So, like for instance, there have been some discussions around like French and Chinese and those languages. So it's not one of the big bullet points, but it is on the radar, and as needs arise, we evaluate that.
Okay. Again, to all of our attendees, I have unmuted the phones. Please feel free to speak up if you have questions, or if you feel more comfortable, you can still submit those questions either in the Q&A box or in the chat window as well. But I want to give everyone that is here on the line with us the opportunity, while Dave is here, to ask your questions directly of someone from Exact that's involved in the road mapping and the product management. So please feel free to speak up. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask Dave while we have him with us?
I'll pin Jeff. I did see two questions in the Q&A here, and I'll address those. One was, is the EBA product still going to be supported by Exact in the future? Does it work with N4? The answer to both of those is yes. Now, there's no additional development going into EBA, but we are still supporting the product, and it would still function with 10.4. So by support, I mean, you can still call in and get support help with it. If there's a bug, we'll fix the bug. If there's a compatibility issue with, a new server platform or a new operating system, we will support moving forward. But any new development around BI is Qlik focused. And the second question is, what is the future of Exact Event Manager product? There doesn't seem to be much development or bug fixes going on that front. So as it stands today, Macola is still tied to Exact Event Manager. It has moved a little bit out of the primary development focus from a corporate standpoint. So there still be bug fixes going with it. There has not been a ton of new development with that. There's some things in the works as far as moving forward, who's going to own code in that product. So I can't talk a ton of those at the moment until some of that's solidified. And I will say some of the other business units at Exact, like Max and Job Boss, have made the business decision to go to the VineyardSoft product. Macola has not decided to do that, and as we said here today, there's no intention of that. We're going to continue to support and utilize the Exact Event Manager product moving forward.
Okay, great. So those are the questions that I didn't see. Apparently those got sent directly to you, Dave, so I appreciate you catching that. Okay. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask? I hear singing in the background, Dave, so it could be that we've got somebody that's shy and wants to submit the question online.
Okay, that works.
But feel free to speak up if you have questions, either about things that have already already been covered during the presentation, or even because we had that general roadmap discussion going on now for at least a year, and I believe a little longer than that since Macola 10's been released. If there are things involved in that roadmap or on that roadmap that you'd like to ask about, please feel free to speak up.
If there's no immediate questions, Jeff, I think everyone probably knows how to get a hold of you, and I think I try to stay pretty accessible too. So if anybody thinks of anything, middle of the night, should definitely feel free to reach out as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the context of the webinar,
No, I appreciate that, and I did just get a message asking a question specifically about financial consolidation and about pulling data from other ERP systems. Are there limitations? You mentioned about a flat file could be brought from something like QuickBooks. Are there actual technical limitations on what or what other ERP systems you might be able to bring data from?
Well, the only real technical limitation on that would be your availability or the ease of which you could get that data out of another system, because it is just expecting a flat file or CSV file. The only prereq for pulling it into the financial consolidation is that it's laid out in the format that it expects, and then obviously too, like the accounts that, like the GL accounts that are in the file are set up. And the financial consolidation and the division is set up and all of that. So as long as the file itself is generated based on the layout and specifications and there's no data validation issues, as long as you can get the data out of the other system, you're good to go.
Okay, great. And I just got another question about workspaces. How difficult is it to create your own? Is there some sort of advanced technical knowledge that's needed in order to take advantage of that additional functionality?
So there's no technical knowledge needed to take advantage of the adding and drag and drop feature that we were looking at. If you want to build basically your own workspace, it's not something we're providing out of the box. Even web parts, the new web parts are still based on SQL Server reporting services technology. So you would actually, if you know SSRS, you could go in and build your own fully workspace, or you could even go in and build your own web parts as well. But it would require a basic working knowledge of reporting services to do that.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A or chat boxes. Dave, if you wouldn't mind taking a look on your end, that would be great. Again, I want to give everyone the opportunity, if you have questions, to ask them while we have Dave available.
Nope, I didn't have anything else, just those two.
Okay, good. Well, I do hear some typing in the background. Hopefully that's another question coming in. But while we're waiting to see if there's something else, I do want to remind everybody, first of all, that we have been recording today's presentation. And as I said, we will be making that available through our normal channels. We'll post on our website so that people can get access to that. Additionally, as Dave mentioned, please, if you have questions that come up afterwards, feel free to either send an email to Algorithm or you can call us. If you know your account manager here at Algorithm, which would either be myself, Jeff Jenkins, or Carl McKinney, please direct that to one of us. Or you can also send a message directly to salesteam@algorithminc.com, and that will go to both of us so that we can direct it to Dave or to the appropriate person at Exact to get those answers for us. And finally, I wanted to say, again, we appreciate everybody taking their time, especially Dave, sharing your afternoon or part of your afternoon with us to share this information about the new releases with us. But it is important to remember this is not a static sort of evolution that Exact is going through at this point. It truly is an evolving process. And as Dave mentioned, Exact has been very open, seeking customer feedback. And maybe you don't have a question that you'd like to ask, but maybe it's a request or a suggestion. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but you're probably looking for those types of input or feedback more than a question that you can put answers to. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer questions too, but also anytime anyone has any feedback, we want to hear it and are actively, trying to seek it out.
Terrific. Again, I don't want to take up any more time. We've reached almost our hour point. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on an algorithm webinar on a Tuesday. And we look forward to either speaking to you or having you join us again then on our next webinar. Thanks again, Dave. I appreciate your time. We'll see you again soon. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks. Bye, everybody.